Do you think there's still a lot of stigma around the stay-at-home mum? So you talk about going to the school gate and wondering what you'll say. And actually now I feel like you're in a position where you would just own that. But in those early stages, when you're still kind of recalibrating in terms of your own identity, and like just becoming a mum is seismic in terms of identity, even if you kind of have clear in your mind where your career wants to go next, you're still all over the place because you have to find a new version of yourself. There are some things that don't fit anymore. And there's some elements that you kind of have to grow into. But in terms of that, what do you do before children? That is a way for people to understand you. And I say understand, that's kind of a kind way of saying just kind of pigeonhole you.
Yeah.
But they can put you in a category then. Oh, she's a teacher. And that, they understand that. That's very clear. And that's what you mean to them then. It's quite shallow, but that is what we do to each other on a basic level. I mean, I'm assuming that you don't regret that decision, and nor should you, to stay at home and nurture your children when they were babies and to give yourself the space to do that. But then as you're coming out of it and you yourself feel ready to kind of re-engage, feeling the pressure of judgment from other parents who should get it at the school gate, where do you think we're up to in terms of that stigma and that judgment now? Do you feel like it's changing, or do you feel like we're still really struggling as a society to kind of understand that motherhood role and its value?
I think we still have a very long way to go with that. And I think you're right. We ask people what they do to be able to put them into a box, right? And actually, unfortunately, I think it's getting worse with the whole trad wife and boss mum and all of that kind of thing. You feel like you have to be more than what you are doing. And actually, we do a lot of work now with other parents and coaches around sort of building up people's confidences and how they look at themselves and how they present themselves, how they show up. And, actually their job that they do is a very small piece of it. And the rest of them, all their hobbies and their likes, dislikes, their responsibilities, their relationships, that builds up the rest of you. And you might feel like if you're not working, you haven't got anything, but actually there is so much more to you than the job that you do. And whether that's paid work or whether that's being a mum, you're not just anything. And I think that's what I found difficult, was that I found it hard to say that I'm just a mum, because I knew it was more than that. But what I struggled with was this feeling that there were times when I found that really difficult, and I had intention. I felt very grateful that I was in a position where my husband was able to support me to take that time out, because I knew. And honestly, we've been together a long time. And when we talked about it, we were like, yeah, 5 years, I'll take that time out to look after the children. We had a model that we had was very much, my mum was a single mum. She pretty much raised me by herself. But my husband's family, it was, dad worked, mum stayed at home, that very traditional setup. And coming from a different background, I looked at that and thought, what a great thing to be able to do. Like, I would love to be able to give my children that time, because my mum juggled multiple jobs at a time. And, she was there for me, but it was a different setup. So I thought, great, if I can do this, this is wonderful. But I definitely lost a huge part of me. I was, career driven and focused and ambitious and all of those things before that didn't disappear. But I found it very hard to present myself and be proud of myself for, being able to do that and take that time out, because it isn't for everybody. Being at home full time is definitely not for everybody. And I definitely wanted more than that. And I also found it really hard to say to the other mums who were working full time and still being a mum that, if I was finding things difficult. And that was the truth of it. Kind of like, I found things really hard sometimes, really hard, even though I was there with them all the time. Maybe it's because I was with them all the time, but
yes,
I didn't
I
feel
think
like
so.
I could say that.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't do it. And I absolutely adore my children, but I found maternity really hard, being in the house. I think it is one of the hardest jobs on earth. And in that sense, it's hugely frustrating that there is so much judgment about it, that you're somehow just twiddling your thumbs and watching This Morning and just having a lovely chilled out time, because it's not like that. And also, it's a brilliant thing to just sink into motherhood, and you'll never have any regrets about it, to know that you gave them that time and you were entirely present for them. And they, no doubt, will grow up with this huge sense of security, because their early years, they just had you all to themselves and you weren't feeling torn. And there's something really powerful about making that decision, because there is an element of self-sacrifice that comes with that, because your world becomes smaller in some sense.